Welcome back, YouTube. This Friday is going to be another design video. I haven't done one of these in a while. And I'd like to start going back to the Angel of Death series, the Halloween costume I made last year. I severely underestimated the amount of time that it would take me, so I decided to stretch it out into several stages over a couple years. And hopefully this is something that, interests you guys, or other costume makers, people who do Comic-Cons and stuff can take some of the techniques that I use to create this costume to make something very interesting of their own. Today I'm going to be talking about legs. Specifically, I want to make the whole idea behind the Angel of Death was to make myself 7 foot tall with a 20-some foot wingspan, Karen bird, bat type thing, all black and skeletal. And there's 2 ways I can do this because I want myself 7 foot tall, approximately. I can either do articulated stilts or I can do digigrade legs. Articulated stilts are basically something that just straps onto the side of my feet. I have a plank here that's movable, a plank down here which acts as my foot. I have a hard connection on either side. Digigrade legs, they're kind of like chicken legs. Let's get some talking paper on here and maybe I can show you what I'm thinking. Hopefully. I mean, that is the idea of doing all this, is that I can kind of explain to you my thoughts. I don't know why, but I can never get onion skin to tear the right way. It always tears in some weird fashion. So, digigrade legs, you have your thigh, and then you have your calf, and then down here you have your foot. The point of the digigrade leg is that your foot actually will extend out, and this is where you walk on. Now, I think in order to make this work the right way, the digigrade leg, I'd need to, let's drop a support structure here. Alright, so here's the basic rig for your digigrade leg here. You have the platform for where your foot kind of snaps in. I guess there'd have to be a strap on top of your foot too. You need a block, especially a block at your toe, and most likely one at your heel, so your foot can't slide up and down, it can't lift off. Because of the amount of stress and strain this whole aperture here will produce on your ankle, you need to extend the heel of it, the heel of the leg, past your own, and have some sort of a cable support back to a leg brace. And I think technically you can get away with just having the shin, but personally I would rather have the shin and the leg snap together because I also have a bad knee, so I think the extra support would be very useful under this type of strain, because you could see that there's this huge lever now being applied to your ankle, and you're going to be, a foot higher off the ground and very, off your center of gravity. But that's your basic digigrade leg. It's actually really cool looking, and I think this would work very well with the costume, the whole avian theme that I have going on, because this could be a very thin 2-inch by 2-inch tube, and then you could weld gussets on the outside of it. Yeah, you could weld gussets to the outside to also to give it more strength, but to also give it a profile too, not just square. And you could really play with making it look like a bone then, by filling it in with some foam and then putting a resin finish on top of that and painting it. Especially, let's say the hem of the cape only comes down to about here. So you'd see this massive foot at this weird angle, thin and spindly coming out, very bone-like. That'd be really cool. But also very hard on the body to wear for an extended amount of time. And apparently there is a significant learning curve with how to walk on these. Now, let's get to the other leg. The other type of leg, which is the articulated stilts. Alright, and here's your articulated stilt. The way this works is that you have this floating pole on either side of your leg. It has to be strapped around your calf, top and bottom, preferably, the more strapping the better. You have to have the pivot point at your ankle free floating, which makes things a little bit difficult because wherever things are, I don't know, you can see where they pivot. Your foot doesn't pivot down here. Your foot pivots up here. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't take into account when they're building stuff like this, is the actual pivot point of the joint. I made armor for several years, and after a while, that's one of those things that you really look for and you really understand, is where the pivot points on your joints are, because you're encrusting them in metal, basically. So you have your pivot point there for this platform, and then you continue down that tube to another platform on the ground that pivots. They're locked together by these guys here, which can be rigid connections or they can be cables. Personally, I prefer rigid connections. Just gives the whole thing a little bit more stability. It's personal preference. And again, you need blocking behind and in front of your foot and a strap on top of your foot. If you can see the difference here, you need significantly less material to build this one. There's less of a learning curve because your weight is distributed almost naturally, whereas it's all vertical. Whereas this, you're standing at an angle, so you're basically crouching the entire time a little bit. There's very little strain on your body when you're just standing there. The only difference is actually lifting all that weight, which is something I'm going to come to next, a point I'm going to come to next. This one's also very simple because you're basically just making a linked parallelogram, because you have a connection here, 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 here. So when you raise your foot, the bottom platform also raises the same amount. So these two pieces here will always be in parallel, and these two pieces will always be in parallel, either front or back. I mean, they both have their advantages. This one looks very cool. It really does. There's nothing about it. That's just cool looking. And I really do want to build one. However, if I'm being honest, this is the easier build. And there are a few things I can do to make this kind of cool and jazz it up a little bit. I show it here as a flat platform, and it doesn't have to be that way. It'd actually work better if it wasn't. So what I would like to propose a change to this, instead of having this flat on the ground, something more like this. where I can actually contour this to make it look more like a bird's foot. So guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Each style definitely has its pros and cons. This is a lot more difficult, a lot more resource intensive, and it's going to require me to learn how to walk with my center of gravity so far back from where my foot is contacting the ground. So I'm either going to have to use a cane or I'm going to have to lean forward. And that's the digigrade leg. So we'll just say the digi-leg. I know this is more of a boring video, but I also want you to understand my thought process when I'm figuring out how to do complex systems like this. Now, also, none of this is to scale. This is all just conceptual thinking. And this one here is the articulated stilt. I want to know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. This is difficult for me to figure out which one I want to do. So I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this. Also, can you see any ways that I can improve these? Any way that I can make them a little bit safer maybe, or make them have a little bit better articulation? Because I'm not really sure. This is all brand new stuff to me, so anything you can tell me or think about in the comment section would be greatly helpful. Also, which one would you prefer? And if you were in my position, which one would you build? Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. This is cool. This is cool that I can, talk these problems out with you. This is cool that I can give you an insight into my mind. To me, it's fun. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you haven't yet, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I release new content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Manliness Mondays, Philosophy Wednesdays, and Project Video Fridays. Also, I have a Patreon account and a Facebook account. If you can, go over to my Facebook account and sign up. I just post random stuff there, ask you guys questions, and try and get some feedback from some of my friends and customers. So, join me over there. If you can spare a buck or two, if you think this is a cool project, if you think I'm worthy of supporting, go over to my Patreon page, and even a buck a month goes a long way. I do run through a lot of supplies, like, this stuff is all gonna be, it's all money. It's all money that I'm just throwing into the wind. So if you think it's, what I do is cool, if you think these are interesting projects and you'd like to help out, even $1 a month goes a long way. I also have a Patreon lens that I show you like snapshots throughout the week, and even just random thoughts. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and post something on Patreon lens, asking questions, just a quick blurb about what my thoughts are, where I am, any interesting things I've thought of, dreaming or whatever. Being a member on there gives you those insights, gives you that access. So I think it's something cool for you guys. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And remember, guys, thank you for helping me make this world better, one curve at a time. And I'll see you next week.